What shark is considered a real disguising master? How many years does the Greenland shark live? What's known about the reproduction of the European eel? What's the Quetzal unique for? Watch this episode until the end and you'll know everything. In this episode, I'll tell you about the rarest and most unusual creatures. Greenland shark. March 13, 2022, they encountered such an interesting finding on the coast of Great Britain. It was clearly the body of one of the sea creatures. But whom exactly? The witnesses could not specify. On the one hand, this creature bore strong resemblance to a shark. On the other hand, it was not like any species that was known to everybody. Maybe it's a mutant unknown to science, one of the tourists said. Not at all, answered scientists that interfered in the discussion as soon as the shot was uploaded to the internet. Relying on specialists, for sure, it was the body of a Greenland shark, the most northern and cold-resistant one. At most, this shark can be 21 feet long, according to what's officially recorded. Other specimens are also rather big. What's more, they're united due to their sluggishness and love for fish and carrion. The most interesting thing about this shark is its life expectancy. According to the analysis of the scientists, the Greenland sharks can live at least 272 years. The age of the biggest sharks found was estimated at more than 500 years. Yes, the white sharks they talk about so often are really small compared to the Greenland sharks, not only in terms of dimensions but also in terms of life expectancy. By the way, it's because of their longevity that these sharks are covered with strange pigment spots and many wrinkles. Mildly speaking, it's a repulsive show. However, some scientists consider that it's because of this ugly coloration why many predators are afraid of attacking them. The second reason for their longevity is, of course, their slow metabolism. What's interesting, this shark has not only sluggish digestion but also aging. Let it swim no quicker than several miles per hour. However, it does very well in the icy waters. At the same time, when it becomes too cold, slow metabolism doesn't help. This is where trimethylamine comes in. This is a substance that's contained in tissues and helps stabilize ferments and structural proteins that would not function properly because of a low temperature and high pressure. Put it simply, crystals in the blood are not formed with this. By the way, I remember this dreadful fact about these sharks. Do you want me to tell you about it? Can you see their eyes gleaming? It's not their eyes that shine, but parasites who feed on the shark. In such an event, the predator is not against this scenario. The thing is that it rests at a great depth with just a little light. Because of that, even the slightest ray that attracts attention will be useful. Other fish swim to this strange gleaming in the pitch darkness and turn into a meal for the shark. I'm sure that after all these unusual and even frightening facts about the Greenland shark, you've thought that there are no stranger sharks in the world. Well, the concept strange is rather biased. As far as I'm concerned, the frilled shark seems to be even more weird. We start with the fact that it hunts like a snake, bending its body and making a sharp jerk forward. Long and movable jaws allow it to swallow a large prey, whereas multiple rows of small and needle-sharp teeth do not let it break away. The cephalopod, bonefish, and even other sharks are swallowed by this monster. The only pleasant piece of news is that the frilled shark is not as long, 23 feet. Its size is restricted to just 6 feet. It's the subject of offspring where this shark outperformed and even occupied the first place. To be exact, its pregnancy duration. The frilled shark can carry offspring for up to 3.5 years, with being the longest among the invertebrates. It's strange enough, but the shark was named so due to its wide skin wrinkles formed by gill fibers that cover clefts. By the way, in total there are 6 such clefts on each side. Though, you know what I would call this fish differently? The liver shark. It seems to me that it would suit it better. It has a giant liver. The organ is full of high-density lipids. Due to this, the shark can successfully live at a great depth without making any physical efforts. But if you think that there are no more surprising sharks, I'll be in a hurry to convince you otherwise. It's the carpet shark that'll help me, aka the wobbegong shark. In the meantime, this strange name goes back to one of the Aborigines languages in Australia and means the bushy beard. In contrast to our 2 previous guests, the fish spends its life in shallow waters in the seas of the moderate and tropical belts in the western part of the Pacific Ocean and the Indian Ocean. How can you survive in shallow waters? You're right, you have to be able to hide. Our guest really resembles an old carpet in the entrance hall, worn at the edges from many years of use. As a rule, the carpet shark hides somewhere between rocks, crevices, or close up to seaweeds. Even despite the fact that the fish is long enough, up to 10 feet, it successfully blends in with the environment. The camouflage that suits the color of the landscape serves both as an excellent protection and cover. In the course of evolution, the carpet shark was even provided with outgrowths to be able to disguise as something dreadful and inedible. It may seem that the shark needs all of this to live peacefully and quietly and not to engage in battles. Not at all. You should remember that it's still a shark. If those big sharks generate noise and show off, then the carpet shark, on the contrary, prefers stillness and quietness. Hiding on the bottom, the fish, lightning quickly, catches up with its victim in a single jerk and can be hardly noticed. It doesn't require a lot of energy. It's quite enough. Then, actually, it comes to a meal. After all, after the attack, the victim will highly likely end up in the mouth of the carpet shark. Moreover, even if the shark does not succeed in hunting and the enemy manages to escape from it with a strong desire to survive, the former will not stand a good chance to survive. The thing is that the teeth of the carpet shark easily fall out of its jaw even after light loads and stay in the wound. It's very difficult to take them out without a surgery, whereas there are hardly any underwater doctors. Yes, those lost teeth are quick at growing back. That's why the carpet shark doesn't lose anything. Rare and unusual sharks are exciting, of course. However, there are a lot of other incredible creatures in the world you've never guessed that they exist. It's them that I'll tell you about right now. Keep watching until the end. It'll be interesting. In the first instance, I would like to tell you about fluffy, rather cute outside creatures from outside, but very dangerous velvet ants. In fact, though they're called ants, they do not have anything to do with them. They were given this name exclusively because of the formal resemblance of their wingless form. Yes, the velvet ant, despite its name, is actually a type of wasp belonging to the family Mutilidae. These creatures live in southern steppe regions. Interestingly, they've been living there for a long time. They say people found the remnants of these pseudo-ants in rocks that were 40 million years old. It's curious, but even despite this, nobody studied these velvet ants properly. Biologists make excuses by saying that it's very difficult to find them. However, something hints to me that they're just afraid of something. The main thing is that scientists managed to learn about these wasps that have made clear-cut sex dimorphism. In other words, males and females differ from each other a lot. Males, for example, have a keen eyesight, up to 2 inches long, dress in dim colors, and are perfect at flying. The females are blind, approximately twice as small as males, dress in bright colors, and spend almost all their life on the ground without wings. Here you'll think, how can it be like this? Alright, males can survive because they're capable of flying, and possibly because of strong eyes, but how do females exist? They don't fly, they're so small and at the same time blind. Some kind of magic. I can say this has nothing to do with magic. This is where their secret weapon comes in, consisting of their strong armor. Birds and mammals find it incredibly difficult to cope with it. A second factor that allows females to survive is their sting. It's considered that these insects are holders of one of the most dangerous stings among all wasps. They hurt a lot. They're often extremely painful, but they're low toxic or low lethal and play a protective role. It went so far that one of the species of these wasps were called cow killers. It's an exaggeration nonetheless. Xenophyophore. This is how our next guest from this episode was called. It's no fish, no flying creature, it's even no big predator. What can it be? I'll say that it's a surprising representative of the one-celled organisms living beneath the ocean at a depth of more than 34,000 feet. Besides the point, the Xenophyophore grows up to 8 inches long. Taking into account that this is a one-cellular organism, it's astounding. Needless to say, it becomes such a strong man, the creature had to be cunning and learn to forage for a lot of food. As far as the latter is concerned, it's the simplest thing. After all, xenophyophores inhabit areas that are full of ooze and deep water snow in the form of organic remnants falling to the bottom. For us, complex endothermic multicellular organisms, this food is considered to be rather poor in quality and low in calories. However, it's enough for slow xenophyophores. Another issue is not so easy to solve. How can a one-cellular creature learn to survive under such a big pressure? What if it just bursts? To prevent that from happening, our one-cellular overgrown creature makes a shield from sand. It produces flexible organic fibers, coating itself with sand on its own and securing this with cement of its own production. Truth be told, mildly speaking, this doesn't look good. On the other hand, who cares about their appearance? The main thing is that it functions. Apart from a strange body structure and huge depth they live at, these organisms can also be soaked with radioactive salts. It's not quite clear why they concentrate so much toxic substances in themselves. Possibly this is the way they protect themselves passively. After all, it'll be enough just to taste xenophyophore, and this meal will be the last one in your life. Yes, I did not expect that an ordinary one-cellular organism could be so interesting and different from somebody else. By the way, speaking of uniqueness, now I'll tell you about a spider that does not resemble arthropods we're all used to. This is the Misumena, or aka the crab spider. By the way, the creature got its second name for its ability to move sideways. Male spiders grow up to 1.6 inches long, whereas female spiders are less and do not exceed a centimeter in length. In the meantime, this is not their only difference. Males are dressed in black, white, and brown colors, whereas females prefer white, yellow, and pale green colors. Moreover, Misumena can change its coloration on the way like a chameleon. She exudes pigments and almost at once blends in with vegetation. It's obvious that the crab spider needs this peculiarity to survive. To be exact, it's necessary to disguise with the purpose to attack or hide from more dangerous creatures. Concerning the menu of our guest, it usually consists of pollinating insects that sit on its flower and do not even suspect that they have a starving spider. Instead of weaving a web, Misumena ambushes its victim. One blow is enough to send the insect to glory. The only thing is that you'll have to wait a little until the toxin injected in the enemy has dissolved everything properly. Resplendent Quetzal. This is what our next guest is called. In conjunction, it's the biggest from the Quetzals and all the Trogons. The overall length of this beauty accounts for 1.3 feet. The bird is ancient and highly respectful. The Aztecs that encountered these creatures have borrowed their feathers to decorate their headdresses. Its presence was a feature of high status. Quetzal almost fully consists of a codia fruit, a rather spread tropical tree. However, Quetzal eats fruit of other trees as well. In one of the nature reserves, for example, the bird tasted at least 41 species of plants. It goes without saying that it's not the most interesting thing about the bird. All its juice is in its appearance. Have you ever encountered a feathered pangolin? Now you have. Unfortunately, this bird does not often make people happy with its look while flying. All free time, this Guatemalan beauty sits on trees with its head retracted and tail down. This behavior helps the bird's disguise with the coloration blending in with green vegetation in spite of its bright color. I'm sure that people who saw this bird for the first time thought that they found a mythical creature, so different from the others the creature was. Here's one who won't boast its uniqueness, at least concerning its name. It's the European eel. From the outside, it cannot surprise with its uniqueness. Take it from me, it's not the fact. At least if you figure out the nature of this creature, it'll become clear. Firstly, it's listed in the Red Book. Secondly, it grows up to 4 feet and weighs up to 14.5 pounds. And thirdly, that surprised me most, it can get about 5 miles. No, stop, 5,000 miles just to mate and then die. So that to succeed in such a world tour, they have their blood enriched with an increased dose of cortisol. This substance is also called the stress hormone. It's necessary for the European eels to completely reorganize their organism to make this trip possible. They regulate their carbohydrate metabolism in blood, change color, and do not hunt at all, living on their fat deposits. Killer whales. Who are they? Why do we call them the most dangerous predators in the oceans? I'll tell you about it now. Orcas are some of the largest predators in the ocean and on the planet in general. An adult killer whale can weigh 3 to 4 tons, although there are individuals weighing up to 8 tons. These giants grow up to 33 feet in length. Of course, such a body needs a lot of food, and sometimes orcas hunt the main guests of the ocean, whales, just to feed themselves. In fact, almost all whales are harmless creatures because they're not predators, eat plankton and crustaceans, and just calmly swim through the ocean, not bothering anyone. In this respect, one can say that literally any marine predator is 100 times more dangerous than them. But orcas are more dangerous than not only peaceful whales but also evil giants, for example sperm whales, predatory and voracious whales. The sperm whale is in fact the only whale that can stand against orcas. First, it's bigger than them, and secondly, it can not only fight off killer whales but also attack them itself. But this doesn't happen very often. Orcas themselves attack sperm whales much more often. They can't deal with huge individuals, but sperm whale calves are a suitable treat. A sperm whale calf weighs about a ton and is 10 to 13 feet long. That's just enough for dinner for the whole orca family. These killers are brutal, not allowing the adult whales to protect their calves. But still, sometimes they succeed, and orcas have to find other prey, like other whales. In this case, they can hunt big adult whales. One of their favorite delicacies is the gray whale. Scientists have repeatedly recorded and filmed how a pod of hungry orcas attacked a gray whale. They exhaust the prey, and when the prey gets tired of being chased and defending, orcas begin to bite, and in a few hours there's little left of the giant's carcass. Orcas attack humpback whales in the same way. And this is not the limit. It's not a problem for them to fight even the blue whale, the main big creature of the planet. Orcas are very smart animals, so they realize that it's not easy to defeat such a huge whale. To do this, they use tactics. For example, they can distract the whale, make it open its mouth, and bite off its tongue. This will weaken the giant. Afterward, the orcas can simply pummel and ram the whale, damaging it and exhausting it to death. After that, whether the whale goes down or stays on the surface, the orcas will call their friends and have a feast. Okay, whales are big creatures, but they can hardly fight back killer whales because they're good-natured giants, and that's all. But what about vicious and dangerous marine predators, like the notorious sharks? Can they defeat orcas? I doubt it. Orcas are the very creatures which always need a challenge in life to make it at least a little bit interesting, because it's boring to defeat everyone all the time. Then they can test themselves in a fight with a shark. This fight is quite difficult, but orcas still win it in the absolute majority of cases. Even one orca can win a fight against a shiver of sharks. That's the truth. Orcas are one of the few animals that hunt sharks for food. A pod of orcas will easily kill a toothy fish. It's much dumber, it does not have the skills that orcas have, and the killers themselves act very coherently and cleverly. For example, they hit sharks' weak points, including gills, can hit the liver, and even eat it out right during the fight. Thus, killer whales kill two birds with one stone. They neutralize the enemy and instantly get to its internal organs, which are rich in nutrients. And yet, battles with sharks and whales are the exception rather than the rule. Yes, killer whales are capable of defeating them, and they know it perfectly well, but it takes a lot of effort. They can entertain themselves like that, but not often. It's much more practical to eat someone less dangerous, strong, and large. Unfortunately for seals, nature has chosen them as the main target of killer whales. This is the main dish on the orca menu. Seals are also predatory creatures, but they're completely powerless against killer whales. In a direct confrontation, they have zero chance of winning or surviving. That's why, if a seal is in the water, it will not be able to escape. The black and white monster will devour it in no time. But killer whales need a challenge. Do you remember it? This kind of hunting is easy peasy. It's much more interesting to do a joint hunt with congeners, work up an appetite and mess with the prey a little, and not just eat it in a minute. Killer whales do this in cold waters where there are ice flows. Orcas have echolocation, so they always know the location of each of their team of killers, as if they were looking at a mini map in a video game displaying teammates. It helps them to feel the space and not stand in the way of each other. This is important because tactics and coherence come into play here. The seal is lying on an ice floe, which means that it must first be thrown into the water. There are two ways to do this, either by splitting the thick ice from below or by creating a mini tsunami and washing away the pinniped with waves. Killer whales most often use the second option. They move forward in a group to the prey, accelerate at the right moment, create a wave to get into position, waiting for the seal to fall into the water. The poor creature has only one chance to escape: to jump over broken ice floes, stay on the ice to the last, and get out to the shore as soon as possible. It's not easy to do this because before hunting, smart killer whales conduct reconnaissance of the area and look where the seal can retreat, what ice floes are in the vicinity, in which places they can take a shortcut, accelerate, and so on. And the seal needs to get to the shore, not to the shallow water, because it will be dangerous even there. Orcas often literally come ashore and eat seals at the water's edge, a couple of feet from the dry sand. It's creepy. But what's even creepier is that orcas often play with their prey. When they've caught one, killer whales might not eat it right away. First, they bully the seal, for example, throwing it with all their might. With all its might, an orca can throw a seal out of the water 82 feet into the air. Imagine how powerful they are. Orcas can also slap seals with their tails, smash their prey on the water, throw it to each other, or eat it right in front of the prey's congeners. This happens when orcas hunt near the shore. These creatures are real psychos and maniacs. Sometimes they don't even kill their prey, but only scare them very much. For example, they can make a seal climb onto a human boat or quickly jump ashore. This is how orcas demonstrate their complete dominance. And sometimes orcas can finish their prey but not eat it. Scientists have observed this strange phenomenon many times. For example, they've found bodies of animals with traces of orca teeth near the shore. Or they've seen orcas scare their prey, kill it, and just swim away about their business. It's not entirely clear why this happens, but there are several versions. According to the first, in this way orcas simply kill time or train, honing their already great hunting skills. Or, in this way, they can show their young how to hunt properly. According to the second version, orcas are simply extremely cruel by nature, and in this way they demonstrate their sadistic tendencies. After hearing this, many of you will be afraid of orcas, but just know that you should not jump to any conclusions. Why not? You'll find it out later. But for now, I'll share a couple of interesting facts about these black and white killers with you. Metabolism and diet. Let's talk a little bit more about hunting and diet. Orcas have a very fast metabolic rate, and in many ways it's this trait that has made them killers. They simply have to eat regularly and a lot or they'll die. How much? An orca needs 220 to 330 pounds of food a day. Orcas are lucky that they know how to fight hunger. They're very strong and can finish off any ocean inhabitant at all. In this, they're helped not only by tactics and developed hunting skills, but also by the incredible bite force. Scientists believe that it reaches 84,000 newtons. That's about 4 times the bite force of the great white shark. Of all the sea creatures in history, only Mosasaurus and megalodons have bitten harder. Did you know that orcas molt? Yeah, just like snakes, but they do it differently. Over time, their skin turns yellow, a kind of bloom appears. It's caused by special algae. It's a sure sign that they need to change their outfits. For this purpose, orcas migrate to warm waters where they renew their skin. They do it quickly for about a month and soon return with bright black and white skin. By the way, orca spots are unique to each individual, just like stripes in zebras, dots on the nose in cats, or fingerprints in us. This allows scientists to identify them individually. Relationship with humans. Orcas kill all the animals in the ocean, eat a ton of food in a week or so, hurry up to molt so they can get back to their native waters, and continue to terrorize everyone. What about us? What will the orcas do to us? Surprisingly, it's not all unambiguous here, as in the case of their prey. For example, if people are on a boat, orcas may chase them. They can either just follow the boat or the ship and scare the people, or they can even attack the vessel. Sometimes they cause damage, and sometimes they even sink boats. And when the human is overboard, the orca will just swim with them. It won't eat them. It'll just play with them, and in a good way, not as its prey. Surprisingly, orcas can finish off a shark, a whale, a seal, but not a human. They're not dangerous to us. Many divers and swimmers can confirm it. Scientists believe this is because orcas are very intelligent. They understand who we are, they're not afraid of us, and at the same time they're not interested in us as food. Therefore, swimming with orcas is very safe. If something is bad, they'll protect us from a shark and deal with it quickly. But here's the thing. All of this only works in the wild. In captivity, orcas become different. Yes, they do tricks in oceanariums, amaze spectators and get along with trainers, but at any moment they can go crazy. Due to lack of space and adventure, as well as lack of food, orcas can suddenly attack a human. In some cases, it ends with a fright and not a dangerous bite, and in others, it ends with a tragic outcome. That's how they are, these black and white killers. And now, I'll tell you about the most dangerous animals in Africa. What do you think is the most dangerous and aggressive African animal? It would be logical to assume that it would be a fearsome lion, a venomous snake, or a toothy crocodile. But in fact, hippos should be feared more than the others. Statistically, they're the most dangerous and aggressive animals in Africa, killing more people every year than lions or crocodiles. Hippos only seem to be funny and clumsy, but in fact, this is not about them at all. Despite their huge mass reaching 3 to 4 tons and their absurdly fat body, these herbivorous killers move very fast. On land, they can reach up to 19 miles per hour and about 9 miles per hour in the water. So escape or swim away from them is unreal. Hippos are not predatory creatures, so they will not attack people for food. But if the giant doesn't like something, or it seems that the person encroaches on its territory, it will certainly attack and try to finish them off. Hippos have the most powerful ramming blow, which crushes cars, and are the owners of very sharp and long teeth and powerful jaws. So they don't care who to attack, they can beat anyone, except perhaps elephants. They're simply much larger. As for elephants, they too are not as simple as they seem. Yes, they are herbivorous creatures. Yes, they are quiet enough. But at the same time, they have a dark side. And in this role, the elephant appears to be an extremely dangerous and aggressive animal. The African bush elephant is the largest terrestrial animal on the planet, which can reach 23 feet in length and 13 feet in height, and weigh up to 12 tons. Add to this the sharp tusks and unreal strong trunk, and you'll get a real tank, which all African animals are afraid to mess with. It's hard to call the elephant a reckless animal, but if it gets mad about something, it's better to get out of the way immediately. The elephant can destroy a car in no time, let alone a human being, whom it can trample down in an instant. What's more, the elephant can even deal with such giants of the savannah as the buffalo, the crocodile, or the rhino without much difficulty. In fact, elephants mostly attack other animals, not people. As for humans, according to one version, these giants with trunks attack them out of revenge. If at some point a member of the herd was shot by hunters, then one day one of the elephants that saw it may avenge the locals or tourists for the death of its congener. It's not for nothing that elephants are said to have an excellent memory. Rhino. Africa is home to 2 species of rhinos, black and white. In fact, these names are nominal. Both species are essentially gray. By the way, black rhinos are right now on the verge of extinction, and in West Africa they're already considered extinct. But don't relax. Africa's still full of rhinos, which pose a huge threat. As in the case of elephants and hippos, it's all about mass. Although rhinos are herbivores, they're huge. They're living armored vehicles. Despite their size, rhinos are phenomenal sprinters, capable of speeding 31 to 34 miles per hour. Add to this poor eyesight, a small brain, a bad mood, and a habit of getting angry over nothing, and you'll feel as uncomfortable as possible if a rhino's in front of you. This giant does not like tourists, their cars, and animals of the savannah, and on occasion will not refuse to demonstrate all its power. When wandering in Africa, you should not only look around for elephants, rhinos, and hippos, but also look under your feet, because at any moment a black mamba may appear. It's rightly considered the most aggressive and dangerous snake in Africa. Not only does it have one of the most powerful snake venoms, it's also the fastest snake, capable of speeding up to 7 miles per hour. When attacking, the black mamba tries to inflict several bites. Such attack tactics are extremely dangerous, not only for humans but also for animals. In one attack, the black mamba can finish off several preys at once. Before the advent of antidotes, the bite of this monster was invariably fatal. Fortunately, there is an antidote now, but that's not much consolation. It must be injected immediately. If this isn't done, the probability of death will be 100%. Sharks. Africa is not only hot deserts, bush, and muddy bodies of water, but also the seas and oceans that surround it. Of course, sharks reign there. The most dangerous place in this regard is off the coast of South Africa. It has one of the highest concentrations of predatory sharks on the planet, which regularly attack swimmers, divers, and surfers. In recent years, this area has become known as Shark Alley. The situation in Egypt is not particularly good either. This country is recognized as one of the major resorts in the world, but you don't want to swim in the local waters knowing that there are bloodthirsty sharks. Take, for example, the infamous city of Hurghada. In July this year, in a single day, there were 2 fatal shark attacks in front of shocked tourists. Even African rivers are not safe. Even here you can come across sharks, bull sharks that live in fresh water and freely navigate the rapids of rivers. These aggressive predators hold the river fauna at bay and even attack huge hippos. Lion. 3 dangerous species of big cats can be found in Africa: the cheetah, the leopard, and the lion. Of these, the cheetah is considered less dangerous. Although it's very fast, it's not very large. The leopard is very dangerous, but these cats live alone. Lions pose the greatest danger because the kings of the jungle live in numerous prides. They also hunt in prides. Of course, the primary targets of lions are other animals, but humans can also fall victim to the dangerous big cat. Mostly the males want humans. A lion often manages to kill only one person in a lifetime, but history knows cases of full-fledged man-eating lions that sent people to Kingdom Come by whole groups. For example, in the 1930s and 1940s, in Tanzania, the whole pride of aggressive and bloodthirsty man-eating lions operated. And during the whole time, they killed at least 1,500 people. Do not underestimate these big cats. You shouldn't even try to get close to them and stroke them. They bite much more painfully and fiercer than your domestic cat. Buffalo. Even though the African buffalo is another herbivore in this episode, it should not be underestimated. This is not a harmless domestic bull, but a real killer. It's not for nothing that the locals call it the Black Death. It regularly attacks people and animals, and in general, its appearance and behavior say how angry it is with everyone. Unlike its Asian relative, the African buffalo has never been domesticated. It's all about its unpredictable temperament. Because of it, it can't be a reliable and safe farm animal. These giants with sharp horns are ruthless. Experts call them the most dangerous animals of the African Big Five game, which in addition to buffalo includes the elephant, the rhino, the leopard, and the lion. This is why hunters often try to kill buffaloes, and this is why you should stay away from these African bulls. And finally, a little bonus. Africa's deadliest animal. Actually, not just Africa's, but the whole world's deadliest animal. Surprisingly, it's not a huge hippo, an angry crocodile, or even a toothy shark, but a tiny mosquito. More precisely, the malarial mosquito. It cannot be called an aggressive creature, but its lethality is beyond belief. According to the World Health Organization statistics, every year there are over 200 million cases of malaria in the world, and more than 500,000 people die from this disease. Africa accounts for over 95% of all cases, which makes malarial mosquitoes the most vicious killers of the continent. The good news is that scientists are working on a vaccine for malaria, and the disease could disappear for good in the foreseeable future. And now I'll tell you about one of the most dangerous crocodiles in the world. Another interesting fact about saltwater crocodiles is their body structure. They have a relatively wide and massive torso, due to which they were formerly called alligators. As it turned out later, scientists were wrong because these creatures are real crocodiles. By the way, do you know the difference between alligators and crocodiles? What they have in common is the crocodilians order, to which they belong, but they have a different appearance, jaws, as well as range and habitat. Crocodiles are larger than alligators, and they have a narrower and longer snout. Also, when the crocodile's jaw is closed, a large fourth tooth on the lower jaw is visible. In alligators, the upper jaw closes these teeth. Crocodiles are common in Africa, Asia, America, and Australia. Alligators are found only in America and China. Finally, some crocodiles, like saltwater crocodiles, are adapted to live in saltwater, while alligators live only in freshwater. I suggest that we not stop there and delve more into the world of crocodiles. Keep watching to see the world's smallest, most harmless, rarest, and most unusual crocodile. Dwarf crocodile. Since the main part of the episode was devoted to the largest crocodile in the world, it would be right to tell you about the smallest crocodile. The broad-snouted or dwarf crocodile is a real tiny creature. You can pick it up, and in some footage it looks like it's just a baby of a large crocodile. But no, this is an adult that rarely grows to more than 5 feet in length. This reptile weighs about 44 to 66 pounds. It lives in West Africa. In contrast to the fearless saltwater crocodile, the dwarf crocodile is a rather timid animal. It mostly eats fish, crustaceans, amphibians, snails, and carrion, swallowing a prey whole. It's physically impossible for it to tear it into pieces. For this reason, and because of its size, the dwarf crocodile is not dangerous to humans. Gharial. And this toothy creature is even less dangerous. The gharial from Hindustan is a unique and very interesting animal. First of all, it has very unusual appearance. It has a very narrow and long muzzle, due to which the jaws of the gharial resemble a saw. Secondly, the gharial is very large and only slightly behind the saltwater crocodile. Males can grow up to 20 feet in length. Thirdly, in Nepal and India, the gharial is considered a sacred animal. But the most surprising thing is that the gharial is safe for humans. It can bite in very rare cases. On the contrary, it was the people themselves who always caused these reptiles a lot of trouble. First of all, their leather was valued, from which all sorts of things were made. Asian pharmacists paid a lot of money for various parts of the animal's body, and restaurateurs paid a lot of money for the eggs to make gourmet dishes. As a result, the gharial is now on the verge of extinction. Just like this creature, the Philippine crocodile is considered by many to be the rarest on the planet. Currently, this amazing creature lives exclusively in the Philippines, and the population of the entire species does not exceed 200 individuals. As always, people are to blame, who illegally hunt these reptiles and also destroy their habitat for their own selfish purposes. Most likely, very soon the species will become completely extinct. And lastly, let's take a look at the most unusual crocodile on the planet, a white crocodile. More precisely, a white alligator. These are periodically born in the United States. In addition to the fact that these creatures are unusual, they are extremely rare. It's believed that there are only 12 such alligators in the world. Their unique coloration is a result of leucism, in which only a small part of the animal's skin is colored and the eyes are blue. There are also albino alligators. There are only a few dozen of them in the world. Like white alligators with leucism, albinos live only in zoos and on farms. Despite all their power and considerable size, they simply wouldn't survive in the wild. First, their white color makes them more visible to top predators, and second, their skin is very susceptible to sunburn. Is it possible to see a hybrid between a zebra and a rhinoceros? Later on, I'll tell you about the rarest animal hybrids. Zebra. Have you ever wondered what two completely different and dissimilar animals would look like? Something like a cross between a zebra and a hippo? They'd be called zebras, and they'd look something like this. It's not my sick fantasy, it's how the artificial intelligence portrayed this hybrid to us. Well, it's pretty cool actually. It's quite harmonious and unusual. From the zebra, the zebra will take a camouflage color and high running speed, and from the hippo it will take self-confidence, a huge mouth, and great strength. Would you like this unusual creature to really be found somewhere? Let me know in the comments. Savannah. The cat with such an unusual name is the result of intercourse between a long-eared serval with a cheetah coat and a domestic cat. Incredible love of the African wild cat to civilized cat happened, of course, not without human participation. The result was predictable but not so unambiguous. The resulting cat is very graceful and neat. Its height varies from 12 to 24 inches. These cats weigh up to 33 pounds. Their head has a slightly triangular shape. In terms of character, these beauties are extremely extraordinary. They combine the independence of a savage and dog-like affection for a person. The Savannah cat recognizes only one person as its owner. The owner is its for the end of its life. The cat has a hard time with separation, and even more so with a change of its owner. To say that these cats are smart is an understatement. The cat is ready to learn any trick or memorize the owner's command at any moment. Despite the malleability, the Savannah cat prefers to be a leader in relations with other animals. Also, since it's very energetic and descended from the serval, the cat has endless energy and must necessarily spend it somewhere. Of the interesting things about these creatures, one can tell about their ears, which can turn 180 degrees. Also, these cats can also jump 20 feet long. Sulamov dog. This is the name of a Russian hybrid between a jackal and a Nenets-herding Laika, bred by Klim Sulamov in 1983. It's said that it was bred by the order of the government. Representatives of this hybrid are characterized by strong and muscular body, small size, and strong paws. Ears are similar to those of a wolf, with pointed ends. Nose is black. Eyes are brown with a shade of amber. Wool has thick undercoat. It's short and stiff, thanks to which the hybrid is not afraid of temperature fluctuations from -94 to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Tail is thick and fluffy, twisted into a ring. The main advantage of the Sulamov dog, which is the reason why its breeding was started in the first place, is considered to be its great sense of smell. Already at the age of 2 months, puppies can find objects that others, even adult bloodhound breeds, will not be able to find. These dogs are incredibly energetic and not angry. In ordinary life, in fact, they do not differ in any way from common dogs. Of the interesting things, in order for the Sulamov dog not to lose interest in its work, in absence of contraband, it's given pads. Of course, I would also be offended if I couldn't find anything when my nose is good to find anything. Wolfen. Scientists experiment not only in terms of land animals, but also do not forget about underwater animals. Thus, one of their unusual works was the breeding of a hybrid between a dolphin and an orca. They named it a wolfen. The presentation of this animal caused a stir in the press and in the world of zoologists, as people couldn't imagine that such a mating is even possible. Despite the positive outcome, the baby managed to live only 200 days. Scientists decided not to despair and didn't stop there. The second wolfen was a female that appeared in America in 1985. She was named Kikaimalu, which means from the calm ocean in Hawaiian. She was born in captivity as a result of accidental mating. A male false killer whale weighing 1,984 pounds mated with a female common bottlenose dolphin whose weight was 440 pounds. But more surprisingly, this wolfen was able to procreate. Who knows, maybe the unusual creatures, which people have bred artificially, will eventually fill seas and oceans. I think scientists should make the right conclusions and triple analyze who and with whom they'll crossbreed. Otherwise, imbalance and chaos in the oceans, as well as in the animal world as a whole, will not be avoided. Zebroid. The name of this creature sounds like it's not from our planet, but from somewhere else, from other galaxies, or like it's a robot instead of a living creature. Nevertheless, we'll leave the cyborg horse for another time, but now let's look at the real miracle. These are creatures that are a hybrid offering of zebras and other representatives of the equine family. Sometimes they can even be divided into additional groups. It all depends on which animal will be the mom and which animal will be the dad. There are, for example, zorses and zonies, but that's another story. No matter how they're called, the essence remains the same. We have a unique animal that was born after a mare and a male zebra were left alone in a closed space. A zebroid is more similar to its mother, which is a female horse. And from the zebra, this animal took an unusual color. Scientists do not yet understand why, but often zebroids are born quite weak and underdeveloped. But don't write them off and think that you can do anything you want with them. On the contrary, zebroids took an aggressive and assertive character from their father, so it's better not to mess with them. Also, in nature, you can encounter the result of mating a zebra mom and a stallion dad or a donkey. Anyway, all these creatures have one thing in common. They grow under the careful supervision of people. We use them in a variety of ways, mostly as riding and pack transportation. These modernized horses are especially popular in Africa. Tsetse flies do not take them for some reason. The only nuance, which no one has managed to correct so far, is a bad temper. Coy wolf. Although wild wolves and coyotes are fairly close relatives, long ago they followed different evolutionary paths and behaved differently. Thus, crossbreeding these species allows scientists to get a whole new hybrid with a lot of advantages, which primarily include the ability to hunt in packs like wolves do, as well as adapt to urban conditions like coyotes do. Unlike most other cases, the crossbreeding occurred naturally. Humans were involved, but only indirectly. They cut down forests and reduced populations of both. Failing to find worthy mating candidates, coyotes and wolves chose each other and formed a new hybrid. People took the resulting genome for study and realized that it had 1/4 wolf genes and 2/3 coyote genes. The rest of the genome belongs to large dog breeds like German Shepherd dogs and Doberman Pinschers. Coywolves weigh about 44 pounds and live in their native wild forests. They have powerful jaws and hunt perfectly in packs. It's believed that one coywolf is able to catch a deer and a whole pack can knock down an adult moose. It's noteworthy that coywolves even have a hybrid voice. At first, they make wolf sounds at low frequencies and then switch to yapping like coyotes. Cow zebra. So what's this? Did people crossbreed a cow with a zebra? Don't panic and say that it's too much. In fact, there was no such thing as crossbreeding here. Farmers accidentally discovered a life hack that helps both them and the animals themselves, giving delicious milk. During experiments, people concluded that if stripes are drawn on the cow's body, insects will bite it 50% less often. Not believing their luck, they took 6 other cows and painted them the color of zebras. The 7th was left without stripes, the way it was from birth. With the help of a camera, researchers recorded all the reactions of the cows to bites and came to the conclusion that the animals painted with stripes suffered less from insects. According to scientists, this way of protecting livestock can be a safe alternative to the use of pesticides. Jaglion. A hybrid between a jaguar and a lioness. What could be better? One is known for its amazing speed and ability to fight tactically. The other is a great fighter and a pride, and is a good mother. By mixing these two wildcats, scientists have come to the discovery of a new animal, a jaglion. They were first recorded in 2006, and it happened spontaneously at the request of the animals themselves. Representatives of this hybrid reach about 9 feet in length, weigh more than 330 pounds, and have the best features of their parents. In addition to hybrid animals, albinos also stand out from the rest of the animals. And now I'm going to show you some of the rarest of them all. Albino elephant. Did you know that the Thais have a special superstition associated with the white elephant? It's customary for them that if you see one in person, it will be regarded as a happy omen. For example, the locals never use these animals in any kind of warfare. Elephants can only be used in religious and royal ceremonies. People in Thailand today react to the white elephant just as they did centuries ago. They immediately report that they found a white elephant to the appropriate department of the Bureau of the Royal Household. The commission of experts then carefully examines the animal and determines whether it has any special characteristics. These include white eyes, palate, nails, hair, tail, and a white or clay-colored skin. All of these are matched, then the animal is elevated to the status of royal elephants. Other nations consider the white elephant a symbol that the monarch rules the state fairly and wisely, which means that the state is blessed with peace and prosperity. With such good news, not so long ago, people encountered this baby elephant. It happened in the western part of Myanmar. The animal reportedly possesses 7 of the 8 auspicious characteristics of white elephants. I wonder if that'd be enough to classify it as a royal animal in Thailand. The rarest gorilla. Hardly any of you would imagine that there could have been a rare and unique gorilla in the world, but fortunately there was. I'm talking about a handsome creature named Snowball, whose uniqueness lay in the fact that he was an albino. The zoo in Barcelona welcomed Snowball in 1996 after he was caught in Equatorial Guinea and transported to Spain. After being seen by the locals, the albino became a favorite of the city. The gorilla was a subspecies of the western lowland gorilla, was well-behaved in public, didn't get nervous, and liked to be fed with yogurt. Whether it was his unique body or such a warm attitude, but something of this definitely paid off, and Snowball lived for about 40 years, which is a real record for monkeys with such an anomaly. In 2003, the public favorite was euthanized. Anyone could come and say goodbye to the gorilla. They had to do it because the albino gorilla was suffering from an unusual form of skin cancer. Scientists think the disease developed precisely because he was an albino. After Snowball passed away, his cage was left empty with the blinds always down. There's always a bouquet of flowers, and there's a sign with the inscription, "We love you and we'll remember you." Albino crow. The expression white crow has long been a metaphor for the stark differences between this or that person and those around them. However, something tells me that many of you have not even guessed that white crows really exist and live, let's say, not the easiest life. For example, they're constantly pestered by their congeners, forcing them to justify themselves for such a ridiculous appearance in their opinion of their congeners. If a white crow will not be able to assert its rights, it will literally be doomed to constant bullying by its relatives, which isn't good. And it would be fine if everything ended with bullying, but this isn't the limit. As is known, many animals in the mating season attract partners by the brightness of their skin or feathers. In this case, it's difficult for pale and inconspicuous albinos to attract the attention of the opposite sex. In addition, it often happens that albinos are completely rejected by the society of their own kind, and sometimes mothers even refuse to feed their babies. So what cute little white creature do we have here? Turns out this is the echidna that a girl photographer from Australia accidentally encountered. Normally, echidnas are covered in dark spines, but this particular one had pale blue eyes, framed by pink skin and white eyelashes. In addition to its snowy coat, its claws were also white. The funny thing is that scientists have never previously encountered an albino echidna in history, but all factors indicate that the photographer is not lying and such echidnas do exist. Since there's almost no information about them, I suggest you write in the comments, how do you think they exist in the collective? Are they also bullied like crows, or are they treated with understanding and respect? Alligator. White tigers, white crows, even white elephants. This all sounds logical in general, but who would have thought that you would ever find a white alligator in the wild? You don't believe me? Take a look at the footage taken in an American theme park. This female was named Pearl. She was taken there in 2009. Like other carriers of albinism among alligators, she has milky white skin and red eyes. In the wild, such individuals have very little chance of survival. Their coloration doesn't allow them to blend in with the environment. They're extremely sensitive to light, suffer from visual impairment, and are vulnerable to many diseases that are not peculiar to the usual representatives of the species. Nevertheless, for once life in captivity is for their benefit. They're provided with food, water, and warmth. Meet Migaloo. And now we'll talk about the world's most famous humpback albino whale living in Australia. His name, as you may have guessed, is Migaloo. He was the first of the albino humpback whales that people managed to encounter. This happened, by the way, in 1991. There's a website and a Twitter account about this whale, and he's protected by special law of the Queensland state and Australia in general. By law, marine vehicles cannot approach the animal closer than 1,600 feet, and aircraft cannot approach him closer than 2,200 feet. The fine for breaking the distance is almost $17,000. That's how much the local authorities protect this incredible creature. You know they're doing the right thing. After all, to encounter such an albino whale is a rarity. Because of the principle of their maturation, if such whales are born anywhere, they most likely simply do not survive the initial stages. Migaloo, on the other hand, is an exception, and it deserves respect. Well, if some of you have any reason to doubt whether he's an albino or not, here's proof. In 2004, scientists were able to take a piece of the whale's skin that fell off after it jumped. DNA analysis confirmed that Migaloo was a male and that it was a true and full-fledged albino. Judging by the fact that the whale has lived for quite a long time, this unusual feature doesn't bother him at all. Here we are talking about albinos, but we haven't touched on the topic of why relatives don't like their different congeners. What can prevent albinos from living normally, and how do they acquire this coloration? Next, you'll learn about it. What is albinism? To begin with, albinism is a gene disorder that is not a gift of nature, but rather the opposite. It cannot be cured or wait for the disorder to end on its own. It's a defect that permanently deprives the animal of its natural coloration. A gene that doesn't allow the pigment to be produced in the animal's body is responsible for the lack of color. Normally, it should be present in the skin, coat, and retina. This gene is recessive. This means that for an albino to be born, it's necessary that both the mother and father have the gene. Scientists estimate that the chance that two such parents will encounter in the wild is about 1 in 20,000. Albinism in nature is observed both complete and partial. Complete albinos are individuals devoid of all natural colors. They have pale skin, white hair, and red eyes. This is more often seen in warm-blooded animals. An alternative scenario is when an animal has a natural color of eyes, paws, tail, and muzzle with the entire body hair devoid of pigment. It also happens that white hair is mixed with colored hair all over the body, and sometimes there are spots all over the body devoid of pigment, while the rest of the body is naturally colored. Anyway, you probably get the gist by now. But what's wrong with that? Why should animals dislike their congeners because of it? And why should albinos themselves experience any discomfort in life? Well, I'll explain it to you now. For all their elegance, such animals are doomed to constant health problems. First, their immunity is lowered throughout their lives, making them an open target for infections. Secondly, albinos albinos always suffer from poor hearing. Also, they very often suffer from poor eyesight. Again, it's all about genetics and the fact that some genes affect others. Now, add to that the drawback of being albino if the person's a predator, simply can't sneak up on its prey unnoticed. The drawbacks can also include the excitement on part of the people. Everyone wants an unusual color skin or some other trophy. This, as you know, makes albinos an ideal target for hunters and poachers. Well, I've already told you about the choice of partners in the wild today. Because of the unsuitable color, it's not easy for albinos to become the best among the congeners. It's difficult for albinos to find a mate, so often they're completely alone throughout their lives. That's all, guys. What animal hybrid would you personally breed? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.